Okay, thank you, Cicely, and thank you, James, for that wonderful introduction. Today's topic is menopause. So, the menopause is when a woman stops having periods and is no longer able to get pregnant naturally. The menopause is caused when ovaries stop producing as much of the hormone estrogen and no longer release an egg each month. Premature or early menopause can occur at any age. In many cases, there's no clear cause. Periods usually start to become less frequent over a few months or years before they stop altogether. Sometimes they can stop suddenly. The menopause is a natural part of aging that usually occurs between the ages of 45 and 55 as a woman's estrogen levels decline. In the UK, the average age for a woman to reach the menopause is 51 years of age. But around 1 in 100 women experience the menopause before 40 years of age. This is known as premature menopause or premature ovarian insufficiency. Most women will experience menopausal symptoms. Some of these can be quite severe and have significant impact on everyday activities. Symptoms can begin months or even years before your periods stop and last around 4 years after your last period, although some women experience them for much longer. Common symptoms include, and these, you can see some of these on the slide here shown by Cicely. At the top, there's a lot of information there on the common symptoms, but I want to go through a few because I'm conscious of time. So common symptoms include hot flushes, night sweats, vaginal dryness, difficulty sleeping, low mood or anxiety, reduced sex drive or libido, and problems with memory and concentration, just to name a few. It's worth talking to a GP if you have menopausal symptoms that are troubling you, or if you experience symptoms of the menopause before the age of 45. And like Brother James, I'm not going to stay for too long because I've got an appointment, unfortunately, but I'm here to inform myself and educate myself, and so I can probably raise more awareness and help the females in my life. So thank you, and I'll hand it back over to Cicely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Tobe, for that. Very well articulated there. But we are going to explore more, as I've said, that as you have emphasized that. But for now, before a few of you start zooming out, I'll bring in Nisa to say hello to us and bye. But actually, I hope it's not a bye because you are now part of this community. You're muted, Nisa.
Let's try that again. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's always lovely to be part of this community. I do not have any updates in terms of like work related, but I would like to let you know, I'm sure all of you already know, that today is my last day in my current role with the Reading Borough Council. And I have only one word to describe the whole year that I've been in this role, and to have made the connections with you is that one word is gratitude. My heart swells from every time I think about the first day and how all of you and more have opened your heart and your arms and welcomed me with such warmth and love that I could never ask for more. I don't have words to describe this. Thank you very much for being a part of my life. And I would love it if we can stay in touch. And Cecily, I would love to be part of the community talk every week. Wherever I am in the world, this is on Teams. So I would love to be sent that Zoom link invite every week. I will put my email address and my phone numbers, both for Indonesia and for the UK, because I would love to stay in touch with all of you. Thank you so much. If I can help in any way, in any capacity as me, to support you all, even if you just want to talk and have coffee, I will do my best to make that happen. I need to go because my team is doing a living do for me, which it's lovely, but I really am scared. I'm gonna cry like I'm about to do now. Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you, Nisa.
We shall miss you. We shall miss you.
I
Yeah,
will come here. Honestly, I'm
please.
going to be joining this, so it's not a goodbye, but it is the end of one chapter of my life and one role in my life that I can support you with. But I hope that I can continue to do the same in whatever it is that I'm gonna do. So yeah, I
Wonderful.
will write my
Wow.
email address and my phone number in the chat, and I will let you enjoy your conversations. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm going to
And
cry.
Nitsa, we can cry too. But if there is one word we can describe the experience we have had with you, Nitsa, I don't know what that one would be, but you have been such a center of information that we most needed, especially at the height of the COVID itself.
Yeah.
You know, that those connections that we felt the council is listening, health is listening, and you're there in the midst of it all. And you stood strong. Though short, strong and powerful. You remained that strong voice for us.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you so, Nisa. And as you have said, you are still part of the community.
Yes.
Rest assured, I'll be forwarding links and information to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I look forward to next week.
Wonderful. We
To
love
say
you.
goodbye now.
We love you.
Fantastic.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank
Thank
you,
you so
Nitsa.
much.
And
Bye.
tell your team you'll be missed in the community, so they better bring you back.
Yes. We want to.
I will do that. I will. Thank you so
Fantastic.
much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. All the best.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Yes.
Bye.
Good. Thank you, Nitsa. So at this point, I will bring in Martina, our young students, to take us through this very difficult, sensitive, but very important subject matter, which we are having on demand, on popular, demand. So it's much needed. So Martina, over to you.
Hello, everyone. It's been a while. I don't know if some of you remember me, but I used to join, I think before summer it was, a lot of these sessions, but just to educate myself as well and listen. Cecily reached me out the other day and was like, would you like to host one of the sessions? I was like, why not? I'm working full-time in university now, but I'm still a community champion. So I'm trying my best to blend all my time together. And like I was telling Cecily, I'm young, I'm passionate, so why not? So I'm going to try to be here as much as I can. So yeah, going back to the topic, like Cecily was saying, I think this is a very, even though I'm a woman myself, but young woman, I still am very far away from menopause, but I think there's a lot of confusion. Also, I would say more than lack of knowledge, is people refuse, or I think they tend to get attached to stereotypes. So people don't really try to go further than, oh, it's just, women, menopause, they're just feeling like this because of whatever, right? So we tend to be classified in a very small box just because we tick certain boxes, and we all go through certain issues, and it's just like women, we're always put in under this category that it's just women, right? So I am going to launch this poll just so you can give your opinion on what do you think about this, if you feel comfortable with this. The first question asks, is menopause an illness? Do you consider that it's an illness? Yes or no, or not sure? And the second one asks, how much do we talk about menopause and how comfortable are we? So 100%, 50%, or 10%. So I'm going to launch it right now. And if you could give yourselves 1 to 2 minutes to respond to this, so that we can then follow it with a discussion. Okay. Yes, so Okay, so is menopause an illness? 75% of you voted no. Only 8% voted yes, and 17% voted that they are not sure. So this is an interesting response. How much do we talk about menopause and how comfortable are we with it? 17% said that they're 100% comfortable talking about it. 33% voted 50%, so half, and 50%, so most of you feel you're not very comfortable or you don't talk much about it, which is also interesting as well. So I'm going to share the results with you so you can see. And Cecily, if I'm not wrong, is this now where we start the discussion or do I go back to you?
Yeah, this is where we started conversation around why, why you've labeled yourself the way you have.
Yeah, so if anyone would like to share initial thoughts, anything that you first think of this topic, maybe why is it that it's not such a common topic, even though it should be, all of us that we have mothers, sisters, grandmothers, friends. Why is it that it's such a common thing, but at the same time, we don't really bring it to the table?
And also I noticed 80% say it's a newness, 75% say it's not a newness, and 17% are not sure. So the majority at least acknowledge the fact that it's not a newness. But, and I say but because it affects people differently, and whatever symptoms one goes through, they'll put you down in one way or another. Your well-being will be affected. Let's hear what your thoughts are on that. Oh, yes, Florence.
Hi, everyone. Good morning and stroke afternoon. I would just like to say what a fantastic program, Cicely has put together here with the team. Brother James, lovely to see you again and to hear your usual welcome introduction. And the gentleman who spoke after Brother James, just to say I didn't get your name, but it was very powerful. I love the presentation. I'd like to start off by saying I'm a victim of pre-menopause, ovarian, as you put it correctly and grammatically, you did it very, very well the way you said it. So we call it premenstrual, much earlier on than anybody else. And I suspect mine started around the age of early 40s, and was horrendous. My answer to this is that when you ask the question, the lovely lady that was introducing is menopause an illness? Well, I'd say no, it's not. And I strongly stand by the 75%. I'm one of those who said no. It has its natural beginning. We've understood.
We are losing you, Florence, yeah? We are losing, okay. You're in and out.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, all right, sorry. Yeah, I was just saying that menopause is not an illness, as far as I'm aware. It's a natural course. It has its natural course because it's part of the system that the Lord created. And so, in the Bible where it says, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, menopause is part of that. Otherwise, guess what? Women will continue reproducing children until the age of 100. Unlike Sarah in the Bible. But let me come to a fact. When menopause does come, it is very, very uncomfortable. And one of the problems we have, I suspect almost all over the world, I haven't done enough research into this area, looking at childbirth and other areas. But this area is not looked at enough. It needs a lot more research. There are so many women suffering with the symptoms of menopause, and yet we still don't know this information. Why? one of the key things I've learned as an individual is that because I had early menopause, which is called pre-menopausal symptoms, I had to deal with every single one of them. And I'd love to do a presentation, unfortunately not today, on how I've coped with every single one of those symptoms. The one thing I will let you into is that I was offered HRT. Now we know that the estrogen levels drop. And so to replace the estrogen levels, you need the hormone replacement therapy, which is known as HRT. But guess what? I go to the labeling of the HRT following my GP appointment, and I look at the side effects. And sadly, the side effects of HRT is breast cancer. And I'm thinking, well, which one's worse? You know, can I cope with my symptoms, or do I want to end up with breast cancer? Although the chances of you getting it are based on your demographics, your physical well-being, and so many other symptoms and other issues genetically. So I decided that I would take it on recommendation from my cousin, who's a medical doctor. She said, take it for 1 year and then stop. Don't use HRT too long in case you end up with symptoms of breast cancer. And so it did work for the time. But why did I take HRT? I took it because I could not cope with the symptoms. There were night sweats. I would sweat so badly at night. And sometimes in the day, I would just break up in sweats. And it's hot, you know, it might be cold outside. People around me, you know, putting on jackets and coats, but I'm sweating, pouring of sweat. And so this was one of the symptoms, and I had to cope with that. And that's why I took the HRT. So is menopause being spoken about enough? No, it is not. Is it a natural course? Yes, it is natural. And therefore, it is not an illness. It is a natural body reaction at a certain age. I will rest my case there because I know there's lots of other speakers, but I hope I've opened the floor to a big debate. Thank you.
Very much so, Florence. And from a midwife's point of view, as well as a lecturer and educator, we can take your word. And I really hope we can have these conversations more because as I can see, 50% of people are not comfortable talking much about it. How can we make it at least 90%, if not 100%? Or because we know it affects us differently, but however different it is, the impact to our well-being is huge. Yeah. So thank you for that, Florence. And I hope you can, I mean, as the conversation goes, I'm sure you'll have more to give us or to tell us about. Yes, Rachel, I see your hand up.
Oh, is it which one? Which Rachel? Is it Rachel me?
Rachel iPhone, but also Rachel Mindo, you can also come in at some point.
Oh, hello everyone. Thank you for staging this wonderful program. I was just gonna buttress what Florence was saying, that I think the reason why menopause is not widely spoken about is because of we the women sometimes, either by cultural background or some of us actually don't have history of it at all. Maybe our new generation, our children will know what I'm going to through. I'm able to explain it. The reason why I'm saying that, because of my background, because I was born in Africa. And I've never seen where my mom will be telling me that I'm having hot flushes, I'm sweating, I'm this. They don't talk about anything. So because we are lack of most of those histories, and it's forbidden for you to go and start asking your mom certain questions that now we are able to express ourselves more, we are able to speak to our children. But there's so many things, I would say cultural wise, traditional wise, that it's actually lacked because we don't have those history, that what was happening to our great grandparents. So we don't have the history of it. So even when people are going through it, they try to be strong. They try not to explain it because most of the things is like, I dare not go and start asking my grandma, when did you start, stop having your period? When, when did you start dating, all these kind of things, feelings and that. So that's just what I wanted to put in for now. Thank you. Yes, Cicely, that's what I wanted to say. It's our tradition and cultural background and things that we don't know. The history makes us sometimes to suffer and don't know certain aspects of what's going on in our system.
Fantastic. So thank you, Rachel. I was talking when I was muted. Very typical. Yes, so thank you for plugging into the cultural elements into this and the taboo nature of the conversation. And Vire Heko, or rather salute Martina to have taken the challenge to take us through this. Young as he is, it's a way of breaking those barriers, you know, those cultural elements. And I'm sure Martina will also share. Probably has is different, but I want to imagine it's not very, very common for parents to have these conversations with their children. And not just their children, but the younger generation. So, and I want to imagine that Martina, now that you are into this, it's something that you can, you know, put out there to the fellow students. All because we are here to enlighten and raise that awareness, educate ourselves.
Yeah, and I would say even more than sometimes it's not even just at home. So it's not the conversation with your parents or with your family members, but it's also a very, I think people forget this can affect women in society in general, in the workplace, for example. I am, even me being young, I am already suffering, I'm still suffering it. The stereotyping of, maybe in the UK is not so, because I think it's a very advanced country compared to other EU countries, but me being from Spain, I come from a very traditional country where men and women are still classified as, you know, two different, even though we're trying to progress towards that, but we're different. And in the workplace, you're treated as like you're having some sort of disease. Same with the period, same with women that want to get pregnant. The first thing you get asked is when you reach my age, 24, 25, is, are you planning to get married? Are you planning to have kids? Because that does influence on whether they're going to give you the job or not, especially in high pressure kind of job roles where they know you're going to be under a lot of stress and under a lot of responsibility. They don't want to have women because they know that we go through certain physical changes that affect us emotionally as well. I think we don't talk about the emotional side as well. It's not just something physical. It's also that you go through a certain process. And if we don't make these things a conversation and something to be taken as, just because women go through this process doesn't mean we can't do certain things, we can't work, or we can't, you know, still function as human beings in a society. We're still going to be treated as, you know, that we're going through a disease or we're going through a certain, you know, stage of our lives where, no, let's keep you to the side. So I've always thought it's something very curious, something that is funny because men usually don't feel comfortable talking about this either. So not just our mothers, not just, you know, our ancestors, is also men. So I think it's important to normalize it. And also try to figure out, I think, yeah, Florence was saying, we all go through different symptoms. Same with the period. We all don't have the same kind of periods. So trying to figure out that with yourself as well. So how do you feel? How do you go through it? Talking more about it with your parents, if possible. When not possible, in my case, friends, for example. Same people around your same age, people that go through the similar issues with you. It's always nice to be able to share that. So yeah, that's my input, my perspective.
Fantastic. Thank you, Martina, for emphasizing that even more. And we know that organizations now, you know, the well-led organizations out there, they have put a menopause as a key element of the conversations that they have at the top level. And according to the Menopause Society, a national society, and actually I didn't know there is a Menopause Day, which is a national day on the 18th of November. And it's all because there's awareness. Organizations need to be aware of that so that they do not discriminate women at the different stages of their lives. And you can see how easily that can happen. You know, we have problems during certain times of the month. Childbearing, you are bringing them up. When you start experiencing menopausal signs and symptoms, again, is another time that you can easily be discriminated against. But having these conversations will help us to know where to really safeguard ourselves legally. It was just yesterday in the news, there was a conversation around menopause, and I realized how much of a problem it is. So it will be interesting to hear other people's views in this matter, and especially based on the poll that we have done.
Hello, Cecily and everybody.
Hi, Rachel.
Hello. Thank you for this time. I think it's a very, very good time to talk about all this because it's part of us anyway. To me, menopause is not sickness. It's not illness. It's part of us. If you don't have, it's like you can't say like having periods is illness. It's not illness. And when it starts, and it will come one day, it will stop. So when it starts, it starts. When it stops, it stops. And sometimes it stops in a different way. The same way it starts in a different way. And it's part of you. If you don't have it, if you don't go to your periods, you are not normal. That's when it's not, that is the illness. If you don't go to periods, and if you keep having periods over and over until you are 70, 80, 90, that is what we will call illness. But going to menopause, it's normal, it's fine. It's only that we have it in different ways. I think many people have say the same. Some of them, they get so agitated. It's like a teenager. When the kids are going to teenage, they have different ways of behaviors. It's the same way we go on menopause. We go in different ways of your body changes. Sometimes you don't understand yourself. Some of them, they become very aggressive. Some of them, they become they shout to the family, or you are all over the place because the body changes. And it's normal. Sometimes you can understand that person, but because we are all grown-ups, we try to control the nasty behavior. But it become like a mental, something to do with even the mental health is just changing. It's like the whole body is changing, but it's normal. And when you speak to other people, you speak to different people, they have it in different ways. Some of them, they just sweat. Some of them, they become quiet. They just have it and they don't want to talk about anything. It's like depression or something. And it's just for a period of time. It's maybe few years or 1 year or something. It depends on how you are. But it's not illness, it's normal. And when it comes to talk about it, maybe when we were like, for example, when we were like, let's say myself, when I was in Africa, I was a young girl. I didn't want anybody to know when I am on period. I was hiding it. Even my mom, who is sleeping next room to me, I was hiding it. I was working and pretending that I'm okay, and I wasn't okay because I was not taught that I should say if I'm not well, I am having my periods. I used to be normal. Even when I'm going to school, I was just going like yesterday when I didn't have period. And it was a little bad because even that time, considering now I am 63, we didn't have any parts to buy. You just sort yourself out in any way. It's up to you. But and you didn't want to talk about it. You just go to school, you don't have anything to protect yourself, you just sit down, you end up looking, you just ask your friend who is next to you, can you look at my skirt, how it is looking at the back, whether I have messed my skirt. And that is how we used to live. And that is, we walked through all that time with that thing. And it was very shameful when you feel like, oh, people are knowing that I am on periods. That time we didn't used to talk, but this time is different. We talk about periods. Even when I have my granddaughter who comes here, I buy her a lot of pads. I leave them in the room. I tell her, this is where this and this is, in case you need it. I talk to my daughter as well. And when sometimes she's very moody, I say, oh my God, are you on periods or something? Or is it coming? Because we make jokes. Now it's not a taboo. Now it's something which is, she will tell Mom, I am on my periods. Mom, I'm not feeling well. And that's okay. But before we just used to say it. And when I started going on menopause, I told my daughters, I said, oh my goodness, your mommy is getting old. Your mommy is going on menopause. And there was a time I was just so quiet, but I knew I was going through that. I am going on menopause. Last month, I didn't get my periods. This month, I didn't. I think I'm going on menopause. And everything was changing. Everything, the mood, everything was changing. But everybody I went across on, I used to talk about, I mean, if it's like at work, I say, oh my God, I'm having this sweat at night. I think I'm going on menopause. It was nothing to hide. And still, it's not nothing to hide. And so, and it depends on where you are. In Africa, we hide a lot of things. Even a woman can get pregnant and you end up seeing a woman with a child and you think, oh, why are you pregnant? I didn't know you was pregnant, because we hide things which are normal. But in this side, when you go to get to test whether you are pregnant, as soon as you know you are pregnant, it's all over. It's in Facebook, at work. Oh, I am pregnant. I think I'm 2 months pregnant. We say it now, but before we didn't used to say. Even going with the menopause, we don't hide it anymore. So I think it's that's what I can just say. Thank you for that time.
Rachel, thank you. Thank you for bringing out so much of, these things that women go through. And I mean, if you look at the word menopause, mentor, you have mentioned that, men comes out from the word mentor, menopause itself. And all that, whether we are having conversations with men or we should be having conversations with men or not, whether it is mentor or not, all these are the things that we need to bring to our attention in order to manage it in ways that is not negatively impacting on our well-being. And I want us to watch a short video clip to help us understand this more in the way that we are to tackle it in the best way possible for our benefits. Just bear with me on that for a minute. And you will be familiar with this lady because we see her every morning.
And I'm currently 50. Menopausal symptoms started for me about 3 years ago. What I mean by symptoms, noticeable symptoms, would be waking up at night as if I had been doing a marathon in a tropical rainforest. I mean, hot beyond belief. It was a GP friend of mine said, oh, actually, do you know what? This could be the sort of onset of menopause. Have you thought about that? And I was taken aback because I thought, well, I'm 47. I didn't imagine in my complete ignorance that would happen to me at that age. I thought it might be sort of 55 or something.
So slippy here.
I think what's upsetting about it for me is that I don't feel all the time like myself. I sometimes feel like this kind of anxious, worried, and sometimes quite low version of myself. And that is not the person that I used to be, am normally. I'm just much more anxious about things that I would never normally be anxious about, and then get cross about things that really 5 years ago, or when things are working well, I don't care about. Can you be in charge, because you're much better at doing the frying of the pancakes than I am?
No.
I make it too thick, don't I?
Yeah, you do.
It's kind of these swings of mood that I'm not accustomed to. I think one of my daughters put it really well, that I just don't feel myself. I don't feel quite myself. There's something, you know, I'm just like a bit uncomfortable in my own skin.
I was quite young when Mum obviously started going through menopause. I didn't really understand what it was and what happens and how it affected her. But now I definitely understand it, and I know that it's really a horrible thing for Mum to go through, and that everything that she does, like, to help it with her exercise, like, and I can encourage that, and it's not just like, oh, Mum's going off to do another run, like, it's her therapy really, and I think it's a good thing that I know what she's going through.
You know, it's absolutely delicious. I did go on HRT and I had a system that worked really well. So that was brilliant, but then for different medical reasons I had to come off that system, and I've tried another system which doesn't work, for me at least, and this is what I've realised, it's all so personal, you know. And I've been trying to do go down the herbal route. And there was a brief period over sort of Christmas time when I wasn't on anything at all, and I realised then that actually my symptoms were quite, you know, were affecting me, quite debilitating.
Hello Louise, how nice to meet you. Please have a seat.
Thank you very much.
I think the key to being successful with hormone replacement is individualising. No two women are the same.
HRT and breast cancer, there were concerns about that, but what would you say?
So the concerns about breast cancer are genuine in the sense that there was a link with hormone replacement therapy. This came from studies that looked at older types of hormone therapy preparations, many of which we don't actually routinely recommend for our patients now. And using more modern types of hormone therapies, the increased risk seems to be mitigated within the first 5 years of use. And if there is an increased risk beyond that, it's no more than 1 extra case per 1,000 women per year.
So just a few thoughts really. I feel really reassured after talking to Nick. None of us are alone in this. There really is help out there. And I kind of think, you know, it's about time we really try to smash through this taboo. There is no need for any of us to suffer in silence. So I feel much better. Hiya. Thank you.
Wow. Something familiar or somebody familiar there?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Present. I say Susanna Reid.
That is Ruiz. Ruiz
Oh,
Minchin.
Yeah.
Yesterday they had a brilliant conversation on a documentary they have come up with about menopause. So look out for that. But listening to what she experienced, I'm sure it's a story for many. Yeah, and I can see a few smiles there. Maria, this is having a sense to you. Maria, any comments?
Yes. Hello, everyone, and thank you, Cicely, for having me as well. I've been going through premenopause, I think, for 1 year, and I didn't know that. I went to the doctor and they said, oh, you have a symptoms maybe of depression. That is just depression, and because of the lockdown and all of that. And I believe it. They prescribed for me medication. I've been on it, but as well, I can see myself is still, there is something else. And especially like when the hot flashes at night, I can't sleep properly. And my mood as well swings. I have ache on my body, ache everywhere. Sometimes I can't even get out of bed. And it's just as well, I have lots of interest. I used to cook and do that, but I've just completely lost of interest of all the things that I like to do. Then that when I went to a doctor and I told him, I think that is not depression. I think that's what I got. I got now hot, because when I used to have like the hot flashes and all the sweat, I said, oh, maybe I'm healthy. That's why I'm so sweat. I didn't know that is the premenopause, stuff like that. So I did an appointment. They gave me an appointment with the nurse to start to take for just consultation for 45 minutes for the HRT. And when I went in there, she started to say for me, look, that is the HRT and the cause is going to happen like that. And when I thought about it, to myself, I said, oh, let me just be a bit selfish. Now I can take the hormone replacement and then see what's going to happen. And in my mind as well, I said, oh, if I took that and the risk they say like that, so what's going to happen? So I told her, okay, give me like 4 weeks or 8 weeks to think about it, and then I'll come back to you. So after that, when I came and I tried to Google here and there, and I said, okay, let me just go and start with like the herbal thing, all those herbs. So now I have like 4 or 5 weeks. I start to do to take the fenugreek, drink fenugreek every day, and I can see a lot of difference in me. And I'm taking like the chia seeds as well. I'm having with the porridge, and as well I'm looking after my diet as well, so I can sleep well. That swing mood is not like before, but I think I'm getting much better. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Lovely to hear you are coming out of it, so to say. And I mean, looking at you, I don't think you are 50 yet. And Lida, you fall into that category of, you can start as early as 45. But we have also had cases of less under 40s, very rare cases. But Lida, what you have explained there, Maria, is the story that Luis mentioned in that video clip. But she involved, you could see the family was involved in helping her manage that through. And it's a question of how we can normalize these conversations within our family settings so that we are not walking the journey alone. We are getting that support that we need. But let's hear any response, any other response there based on your experiences, but also what we have watched there on the video clip.
Cecily, if I may come in, I know this is for women, but also I think there's also some literature that's suggesting that men also do go through menopause. They call it andropause. But I'm not here to talk about that. Perhaps we need to have men together also, as this particular forum is going on, to have men to come together to have a good understanding about that as well. What I really want to relate to is my childhood experience with my mom. And in our tradition back in Sierra Leone, the tribe I come from, mom would always say, I'm in the moon, and daddy would be a bit worried, and I would be a bit even more confused as a 5-year-old boy thinking my mom is in the moon. And for her period is symbolic with the moon. That's a cycle, and I think most women in that tribe probably testify to this. And I would be going around checking, looking at the moon at night to see if my mom is there, and that went on for some time. And my curiosity grew bigger and bigger. And I checked with my mom, what do you mean by you are in the moon? What do you mean? Look, the moon is up there, you're here. But basically, her explanation was basic and very simple. And like Rachel said earlier, the taboo around it, they don't want to talk about it. And she wasn't really in place to educate me. Perhaps she did with my sisters, but for me, I was actually kept in darkness. And I think my dad also would have been confused as well, but probably he figured it out himself. But so talking about this today, my awareness really has grown, and I'm just beginning to really find this discussion really, really interesting because it's educative for me, for my own spouse, for my own children, my daughters and friends that I work with. And when we talk about irritability and hot flushes, and sometimes we don't understand, and that's perhaps would have been the reason why my mom used to get out at night in Africa, because the temperature is so hot at night. She would get out and maybe linger around the compound and then come back in. But nobody knew what was happening. So it's really important to talk about this thing. And we can actually humor it by Rachel was saying that, is it coming again? Is it big one? Is it small? So it's really good to have humor around some of these changes. Indeed, this is part of change. And Florence was talking about, it's a normal change in our life system, the body. But how do we adapt to it? How do we embrace change? And change is one of those things that never change at all. You have to adapt and embrace it. And I think it's really important for us to be aware of the changes that may occur in your body, but also around how people are around you might be able to relate to it, to accept, to understand, to support you. Because sometimes men will not understand when a woman says, maybe I'm tired, you know, I don't feel up to any intimacy. They might think something else is wrong. Maybe that's less or low in your sex drive is what is causing the woman to be a bit tired and, you know, avoiding sex and all of those things. So it's really important for us. And I'm really grateful to all of you women for this awareness that I'm going through as a CBT therapist. This is partly what perhaps I may be considering as well in working with women who might be in that age bracket, just to support them to understand, to let them to allow them to understand and talk about this thing openly. Thank you.
James, thank you so much. And we can see why, listening to you there, James, we need to have these conversations within our family settings, if not in our neighborhoods. Because when men are educated right from the young age, they will be in a better position to support their spouses and even their children when they start going through those phases. And like we saw on the clip, Ruiz managed to get the support of the husband. We saw them walking the dog together. In the house, in the kitchen, we saw her getting support from her daughter. So really, it's everybody's business. And it's important we make ourselves comfortable in having these very difficult conversations. Constance, I know you have a lot to share on that. Please do come in and bring the awareness.
Oh, Cicely, I don't know where to start. There's so many things. But let me follow on from what James has just said, that his dad would refer to his mom's situation as being in the moon. Because this word menopause is not to me, it's a big word. It's always been a big word. We never really used it. It was so medical. And I remember my mother-in-law would say, oh, I've gone upstairs. And I used to wonder what she's talking about. She's gone upstairs. And some women would also say, I'm in the change. But these words were always filled with negative connotations. And I think that the women of my mother-in-law's generation, they were sort of embarrassed or a bit ashamed of the fact that they had reached a stage where childbearing was no longer possible. Because of course, in some cultures, women being fecund or women having children and being able to produce children was sort of heralded as something great, that, oh, I'm a woman, I'm still having children, so I'm important. So when the menopause came around, they just didn't take kindly to it. They didn't want anybody to know about it, so they really didn't discuss it. And my mother-in-law also, she moved out from her husband's bed, from their bed, when she started the menopause. And she would say to me, no, I can't be having anything to do with him anymore because I've gone upstairs. And it's all of these little words, these negative terms that sort of enshrined this, what's supposed to be the most natural thing for us women. Thank you. That's all I could say now.
Wow, thank you, Constance. I think all these terminologies used to explain what, the experiences people are going through or we still go through are the ones we are trying to address so that we talk about the real things. Yeah. And that awareness alone is very, very important. Very. Yes, Esther.
Yes, thank you so much for a very wonderful and important discussion that we are having. There is a book that is so important and significant in my life, the Bible. It says, my people perish for lack of information. What am I talking about? It's information. As we were growing up, these things were never shared, as other previous speakers have said. It was a taboo and there was no forum, no place, no table where people could sit around and just to share this. And I'm just so appreciative that we can now talk. If this can be shared freely, talked freely, people cannot just suffer the suffering that they experience because they will know what to do. People just suffer in silence and they think maybe it's me. It's not me. This is natural, it's a blessing. And I think if we look at it very positively, then we will have less consequences. But this can only happen if we know. But the not knowing is actually a challenge. And also the support from others, once they know what it is, then they can be able to support you positively. But as we were growing up as little girls, it was like having periods is a curse. The treatment that you receive from the other girls, from the other boys, and the lack of information and support from mothers and those older sisters, how to behave, how to go about it. And so as you grow old, you're just lacking this information and you just meet life challenges, you just meet life experiences and you have no idea, you have no clue. So I just want to appreciate that this meeting, we are sharing this information. And I want to say that information is power. And if we can share widely, I think we can minimize the suffering. Thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah. Lack of knowledge will lead us to suffering. Yeah. So really referring us to that important book, I think is quite important, is the need to educate ourselves so that we come out of this. I mean, by having this conversation and highlighting some of the impacts will help us address, the domestic violence issues that perhaps, we experience along the way. It will also help, young people out there who will probably miss going to school because of what they are experiencing. So it's very, very important we normalize these conversations and remove the taboo in them. Constance, is that a fresh hand? Before I bring Martina in to for any comments out there?
Yes, Cecily, what I'd like to ask is this, and maybe I'm directing this to Florence. As Esther said just now, that she quoted the Bible in relation to this issue. And if this is of God, if this is the natural process, why is it that so much of pain and suffering is enshrined within it? It just seems not of God for me. And the other thing is that, is it the suffering that we're experiencing now, the night sweats, etc., is it a 20th century, 21st century phenomena, or what used to happen with women of old, so to speak? What used to happen maybe with women in the 6th century, 7th century? Do we have any studies on that? Because this just seems so unnatural to me. Why should I be suffering like this if this is coming from God and it's a natural process? And then again, this might sound rather funny. Why is it that men don't have any of this happening to them? Nothing happens to the man, it would seem. But we women, we start with the hymen, that's men. Then we have the menopause, that's men. Everything pertaining to women, that's, especially with the reproductive system, has the word men in it. And I'm just curious. I don't know if Florence has any answers.
Yeah, very, very good insights there. I mean, Florence is not on the call. She had to go to another meeting, but I'm sure there are studies that are out there. And James highlighted one of them. But when you talk of those 16th, 17th century, it would be interesting for me to know or to understand what used to happen. I mean, even within our generations, you know, the way we are dealing with it is not the way our parents did deal with it. And I believe the way our children will deal with it or are dealing with it is not the way we are dealing with it. So there is that evolution, you know, in a positive way, I would imagine. But also if you ask our parents where they were, you know, they were perhaps comfortable. They didn't think anything of it. While in our age or in our times, we are concerned. So all these changes, I think we just have to educate ourselves more. It would be interesting to hear or to know what happened all those years ago.
Thank you.
Well,
Rachel,
let me just say something. Constance, I really appreciate your insight, and I think it's really good for all of us to begin to think of some of those questions. But when we also talk about prostate cancer in men, it becomes very difficult for men to begin to understand why us, why not women. Maybe you can say, what about breast cancer? But I think there are a lot of changes that we can actually embrace in our life naturally. And as Cecily was saying, evolution is part of it, changing environment is part of it. Maybe our people in those days did not medicalize some of these things as it is being medicalized today. Everything that you do is medicalized. Even when you cough for more than 3 days, it's going to go into a medical factor. And if you eat too much of your brown rice and you become a bit overweight, it's going to be medicalized. So we don't have any capacity to look after ourselves without seeking support from outside, which is good. Just like when we go to church, we cannot survive without our religion, our God, if you are a Christian or a Muslim. So when we come to your question, really, Constance, I think it's very provocative in a positive way. But we need to look at all the changes that we embrace, we go through, you know, and the last maybe a year and a half of the pandemic, a lot have changed, you know, and there's so much that we go through. And even when you go to a doctor and talk about any other medical problem, perhaps the first question they will ask, do you have COVID? So it's now the big picture that we have. So much that some of those little illnesses that we probably can manage is now being classified as COVID-related issues. So it's really important to ponder on Constance questions, but at the same time to begin to look at those changes in you. How do you communicate it with your spouse or your children, your friends, and even your workplace? You know, and Cecily was talking about workplace environment is also quite key. Most of us, we have problem at workplace when we have any illness, because the understanding of that illness, that people don't see, you know, those hidden illness like mental health problems, stress, you know, low mood swing, and all of those things, menopause, people don't see it on your face, that this is what's wrong with Grace, for example. So it's really important for us to be more aware of the changes in our lives and to do something about it, either personally or engage with somebody or get knowledge about it. And Esther talked that knowledge is really, it's a powerful thing. Without knowledge, you're really limited. It's like you are trapped in this place you can't really get out of. So that's all I want to add. But Constance, your question is really good. And I think it provides a lot of scope for us to think a bit deeper.
Fantastic. Thank you, James. Now, Rachel, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Momo, and thank you, Sister Constant, for this brilliant question. What I was just saying, that all these things, all the women spoke about, they are very good things. And I think my concern was when they said that, oh, menopause is not a sickness, but in a wide term, definition of health is not only just the absence of disease that we class as, to get a complete state of mind is merely class, like that's what it said, that health is a complete physical or mental or social well-being, not merely the absence of disease. So the way we kind of think about the menopause, like people actually suffering greatly from it, even though we are classing it, possibly that's what Mr. Momo was saying, that, oh, it's not a disease, it's a woman thing. Women have to be stronger to get through it, because when you're having a period, that's the time. But if you're suffering from it greatly, I think for me, I would think that you shouldn't keep suffering in silence just because to say that, oh, it's a women thing. We have to accept what comes. I think it's better to seek medical help and treat it the right way. And then, just like the first speaker said, seek advice from the cousin or sister who is a medical doctor and say you have to take HRC. And because we live in the advanced world now, I think a platform like that, we are very, very grateful to you guys. Where in those days, like I said, I will not discuss such thing with my mom, or my parent will never sit together. Like Mr. Momo said, when people are having low sex drive, is something that they will not talk about. They have to, like thinking that, oh, what is she talking about? This is not the kind of thing. Or even to watch movies that people will say, oh, this movie like kind of motivate people to do certain things. It's forbidden. Why should I watch such movie? So it's actually good to talk. I think experience is the best teacher. When you talk about the other person, like if I start talking to my auntie or somebody who has gone through the
I think we are losing Rachel.
Yeah.
Okay. Rachel, I think we are losing you. We've lost you. Hope you can come back. Yeah, hear from
them, like what I will get from this platform today. We put me and awareness that when such thing is happening to me, where I could get help for, or what I should be looking forward to. It's a great platform, and it's actually good to talk. You can't hear anybody.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we got the message. We got the point.
Oh,
the importance of talking, learning from experience. I don't have to wait for my own personal experience, but I need to learn from the experience of others, which is why I really appreciate Maria for sharing her own experience here. Going to the GP and being, depression coming in and perhaps being prescribed antidepressants, but actually knowing what you are going through or what could be happening will help you not get those prescriptions. Yeah, you'll deal with it in a much, much better way than getting into medication that perhaps may bring problems to you later. So let's learn from the experiences of others. And also let's be compassionate enough, not just with ourselves, but with those around us. When we meet as women, we know of our ages. Let's try to be compassionate with each other, because all sorts of things could be going on in each one of us lives. Yeah, and we cannot do that unless we are aware of some of the things we are talking about here. Any other comment?
Well, can I say something?
Please, Grace, I was longing and waiting for you.
Well, I'm sitting here and, smiling and enjoying all this conversation. Very interesting. What a platform. I keep inviting people, but they don't come. They don't know what they are missing. You are all great people, wisdom and everything. And I salute all of you. Yeah. What should I add to this important things that you've all said. Well, yes, lack of knowledge, the people perish, as Esther said. Me, when I was growing up, I didn't know about this menopause until I went into nursing, because my mother never spoke of it. You know, I didn't know what she was going through anyway. She was hardworking, looking after 7 children. So I don't think she had time to talk about it. Yeah, but for me, my experience, when I got to 50, it just went. I didn't have any premenstrual or premenopausal symptoms. It just stopped. And I went to the GP. She prescribed hormone replacement therapy. And I read the side effects. I said, no, I'm not taking it. And I didn't take it. I had a hot flashes and night sweat for, a while, and it stopped. So that's, I had it good, I think. Now, talking about this child, Constance, can I address something? I'm not a pastor, but I think menopause is related to childbirth. And in the Bible, didn't God say we shall suffer with men when we sin? Adam and Eve deceived Adam, and then they said she will suffer around childbirth. So can I innocently bring that in, that we probably suffered because of what we did in the Bible, at the beginning of the whatever. Eve deceived Adam, and Adam too was cursed. That he will work hard, isn't it? That sort of stuff. That's my little thing that I can add to that. And our great-grandparents, they probably went through this, but the environment probably helped. They were eating all these herbs and all that around, and they carried on regardless. And as James said, there were no label to it, so they didn't even take notice of it. So this is my little thing that I can share on this. We are living in these houses with all pollution and all sorts of stuff. So we're probably suffering. And we got busy lives, we don't relax, we do all that. So I think this could be contributing factors. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Grace, thank you so much for that. We are talking about well-being.
Yes.
Yeah, and our well-being is quite a broad, subject matter to be thinking about, but it's all the small bits here and there that we perhaps overlook that are impacting on that well-being. So very, very important that we educate ourselves and get to know how others have managed this. Yeah. I notice in the comment there, Grace, who has left scene, saying her dad used to talk to her and her siblings about, all these things without shying away. And because of that, he has been able to talk about these things to our 2 children, I mean, boys and girls. Yeah. So that goes a long way. But I think there is a lot we need to do on ourselves. We need to work on ourselves. We are more shy than our children when it comes to these conversations. And perhaps not all of us, but some of us are. And that's a very personal question to ask yourself. How open are you into these conversations to your children, but also to young people in general, so that they get more enlightened? So one last comment before James comes in to take us through the end. If not, we seem to be well enlightened. Please go and look out for that video clip I shared out there. Get to know the place for the, the home remedies, the herbals, and also before you get into the medication, ask for the side effects, so that if it is something that you can manage without getting to the medication, please do. We saw what Louise did there by going to her GP and the side effects that were explained to her. So she was able to manage that. So James, over to you.
Cicely, before James come on, can I just share something?
Yes, please.
Yes, I've learned quite a lot regarding this topic of menopause, because I can personally say that, yes, people suffer in different ways. It's not an illness, but I'm thankful that I did not go through it. And because from what I observe, with regard to other people suffering, I remember I was about 40 when I began to get some strange symptoms, and I just did not understand, because I was using my herbs, I was doing everything that was healthy in my thinking. But I went to my GP and I had a chat with him, and he said to me, Mrs. Mitchell, I think you're entering menopause. And I basically looked at him and said, explain, please. And he explained, but he did not prescribe anything. And I went home. This is me. I don't usually talk about dreams or anything, but sometimes I do get dreams and I follow through. And what I encountered that night when I slept was there was this indication in my dream that I should add this particular vegetable to my diet. And I think many of us on this platform, we may be familiar with it, and that is cassava. Yes? And I added cassava to my diet, and that was it. I did not experience any further symptom regarding menopause. So, ladies, those of you who are entering or in the thrust and throes of menopause, maybe you'd like to try adding cassava to your diet. As I've said, I had it in a dream and I added it to my diet, and that was it. I've been fine all through my 40s, mid 40s, and until this day. So I'm thankful for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Every bit of information helps.
Yeah,
So
indeed,
please
indeed.
add cassava to your diet and see how it will work on you. Thank you.
Indeed,
James, over
indeed.
to you.
Thank you so much, everybody, for all your beautiful contribution. And I'm really privileged to be part of this discussion, and I've learned a lot. It's has added to my own knowledge and awareness around menopause, particularly when I'm dealing with my own family, my own people, friends. And also, it's really important for us to understand when we talk about illness or not illness, it's really about how any condition is affecting your life and those around you. It becomes a bit difficult for you. So don't wait until it has taken over your life. People can manage with it without having to deal with too many things. But if you begin to experience changes that you're not aware of, you're not really certain about, you don't know what to do, and it's impacting on your life in totality, I mean, it's important to take action. And there are a lot of services out there, because what we have been able to understand today is this particular change, whether it's normal or not normal, whether it's medical or not, it can actually bring about a lot of difficult changes in our life. People talk about mood swing, where you begin to experience your mood is no longer the same. You're either irritable, happy today, tomorrow you're down, and you go to work a little bit sad, you're tearful, you don't know, hot flushes and all of those things, what they can do to you as a person. If it's taking too much of your time, that's when you begin to act. And we have heard from people who were very courageous, bold enough, they went to GP and they were able to discuss their symptoms. And again, I may really want to emphasize on you accessing services, but be able to control what you want from those services. You have to go with your agenda. I mean, when we go shopping, we all have shopping lists sometimes. So why not go with the shopping list to your GP? Say, look, this is my shopping list. You are my GP. This is what I'm going through. I think they will really be happy with that, because you are actually providing them with agenda. Sometimes we go to GPs and we just sit there and they determine what's wrong with us. And the languages they use, we are not understanding. So why not influence that language by telling them what is wrong with you? You know, you can even call some of these things in your own tribal language and try to translate it to the GP. That could really work. I have done that before. And we also talk about depression, the low mood, and also the lack of drive. And I think there was Florence that talked about that also, that sometimes that lack of drive, you know, can begin to put your man away from you, but try to encourage them to understand, you know. So it's really important to bring people on board to understand what you're going through, because it's important for them to know. And we also talk about exercise, diet, mood management, your sleep, and all of those things. So we are doing all of these things. I think the big topic here today is for our well-being. And I think Constance mentioned a lot about our well-being. How do we link that to our well-being? How do we become well enough, you know, to manage all of these things? And I can understand what people have done. For example, the cassava or any other yam, maybe white yam, red yam, you know, bush yam. I have tried bush yam. You know, if you want to know where bush yam is along Oxford Road, it's amazing, Grace. There's a big shop there with bush yam. It's really fantastic. So there are a lot of opportunities for us. So let's get out and about. And this week, I just want people to really remember to focus on their thoughts. Let's imagine your thoughts were something, were a seed you want to plant. Please don't give me any answer now, maybe next week. So when you plant your thoughts this week, what plant, what crop, what harvest will you be expecting? Because I want us to start to deviate from negative thinking to positive thinking. So imagine your thoughts to be a seed. What will be the harvest? So I would like that answer in our next session. Thank you and have a lovely week, everybody. Bye-bye.
You too, James.
Yeah, thank you, James.
Good.
I think you have to access next week.
Yes.
You give assignment, but you don't ask. Access.
This one I will ask next week.
Wow, what a lovely way. What a lovely way to think.
Cecily will remind me.
Yes, I will. And it's a lovely way of ending the conversation, you know, on time.
Yeah.
And, you know, let's go away and digest what we have learned.
Yes.
And put that into practice. Florence, who left earlier, has sent very useful information that I'm going to forward to you all to use to manage those symptoms when they come. Otherwise, have a good rest of the day and let's connect on Thursday.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Maria, for sharing with us.
Bye, Grace.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Yes.
Well, I can't see you all. My screen is shut.
We can see you.
Can you? Okay.
Yeah.
Have a good week. Thank
All
you.
right. Have a good one. Thank you, Rachel.
Bye.